Hi everyone, welcome in. Michael here from Viral Funding Solutions. This will be a great video. I have a lot to share with you today, such as EIDL loan increase updates, how to get 0% funding, how to ask yourself two of these questions before taking an offer, what you should do before going into an application once you're in it, as well as so much more I have to cover. I have a document here. I have my notepad out in front of me that I put down some notes that I want to cover today. So I'll be referencing this as we go. But before I get started, if you guys are here with me, please give me a hashtag live in the comments or a hashtag replay, depending on the time interval. Listen, it's been an amazing week. Let me know how your week is going too. And where are you tuning in from? Is this your first time being here? I tend to come on here Thursdays at around 12:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And throughout the week, you may have seen some of my video content, perhaps my blog posts, social media, etc. So I'm kind of here and there. Now, there's so much to cover, but I got my cup of faith here. No more teas in it, probably a drop or two. Books just surrounding me. It's a little dark out here in Vancouver, Washington. It's looks like it stopped raining. I can see on the windshield, on the window right there, that there's no more water dripping. But it looks like a gloomy day out here. And awesome. Detroit, Michigan. Well, shout out to Detroit. How's the weather there right now? It might be like it is here in Washington. By no means am I, like they say, in this climate, when it's cold, when it's rainy, and then 1 second later it's sunny. I'm not a bipolar person. I mean, I grew up in Orange County, California, moved out to Washington. So in a sense, maybe, but there's so many weather changes, you don't even know what will hit you next. So I have so much to cover. But before that, yes, the week has been amazing. So much to do every single day. If any of you guys have been trying to get a hold of me via email and I haven't responded back, I do apologize for one, and I'll own up to that because I'm also very busy. There's a lot of projects that I have going on right now, especially if you filled out the questionnaire and you're waiting for a response back. Again, I have been very busy this week with a lot of projects on my hands, and so I'll get to them. Hopefully tomorrow is a catch-up day as well as this Saturday. Is it? Yeah, I've seen that Detroit weather. I haven't been there, but from what I've seen and people that I know, how it can be. But yeah, I have a lot to cover here. And at any point, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to voice it for me in the comments section. And I will do my best to answer it as I go along. After this, I will try to make a small appearance on TikTok Live. If you guys want to join me thereafter, I try to do that after every live here, just to kind of recap and in a way share more bonus tips and more material. That's where you'll find me thereafter. Now, a few things I've done today. I got up a little bit late this morning. I got up around a little past 8:30. Normally I'll be up about in the 7 a.m. I used to get up about 4 a.m. to do all of this. And then it became 6 in the morning and then 7. Now it's a little bit past 8 because I've kind of built things to a point where it allows me to work at that time. So maybe you can relate in your own business or businesses where you've been at this point where you wake up at this time and now you're waking up a little bit later. It's not about being lazy. It's just understanding your business and the structure of it and what demands need to be met. Some days you may wake up earlier than that time and then you might go full throttle on it. No problem. I'm still waiting for a response. Okay. Yeah, like I said again, I have had so much to do. I haven't even been able to get around to most of those questionnaires today. I did a few of them, but I had to get moving. I have to create content for you guys. I have to be doing this, doing that. So Fridays and Saturdays usually tend to be my come back and do all of that type of day. So what do I have to share with the SBA EIDL loans? So if you didn't watch my last video, I think it was a live or I had uploaded it, but I spoke about the last day to request an increase. Increases for reconsideration is on May 6th, and the funds are completely wiped out, yet they're accepting those requests for increases. Just know this, though. that if you don't get one, okay, I know many people are strung up. I sent an increase, I was denied, I'm in a final reconsideration, that did not work, or I haven't even received the full amount, the first amount, or any kind of an increase. People are right now just trying and trying so hard, and I can see evidence of that because so many of you guys have been emailing me. I just haven't been able to respond to each and every one of them. And it's pretty self-explanatory, especially if you're tuning into my content, what you should be going to do for each of those scenarios: appeals, declines, approvals, more increases, etc., and why people are not getting approved in the first place. So I won't speak upon that in this video. There will be one down below. I think it says something like SBA Increase Fix, but there's a lot of reasons why you're being denied for reconsideration and increase the first amount. So I'll get into some of the stuff there with the amounts, but just know that it has come to an end and there's going to be a huge shift in a transition right now. I'm trying to locate my points here. Okay, so one extra tip on the EIDL loans. So you just have to really understand, and this is what the whole topic of the video will be then about. What are the purpose of those funds being used towards? So many of us, we try to attend these videos or we try to watch somebody else, but we don't truly understand when we need the funds, one, and then two, how much of it we're actually going to need and how we are applying it. And so when people see an offer on the table, they get so corroded in. Phone call from a telemarketer, I don't like that. Yet they happen all the time. So we're so corroded in this thought process that we need EIDL, we need these funds, and then we end up going on a strike. We end up having to contact who knows who, at what time, at what place. If you've been denied, and there's it's evidence that this is the reason, and if you try to fix this, this may work or this may not. Funds are depleted. What should you do? See, the average amount people are getting are around 20, 30,000 or so. And then sometimes it can move up depending on your fundability details. But again, there's a separate video showing you why you've been denied and what you can do perhaps to fix that I won't get into in this video. So May 16th is going to be the shutdown of the EIDL portal. So that'll be the last day to access it. So if there's anything you need to do on the back end, documentation, tax transcripts, 4506T forms, anything, any kind of updates, you'll want to make sure you are staying ahead of that. And you're looking out for any kind of emails that indicate any updates, whether it's an increase or not, because that can happen. I've seen it. So make sure you're understanding of that. Now, moving aside from that, let's talk about 0% interest funding. I'm sure many of you saw that and thought, that sounds too good to be true. And like anything, it really is in a way, unless you know how to get it. Now, what I mean by 0% interest, I mean building business credit on the back end, but getting access to credit cards, business credit cards. And then this is more of a credit card stacking program that is pretty amazing once you get in it and you have the qualifying details to do this. Or you might be in a situation, if I've spoken to you today, you may know who you are, but you have a lot of credit cards, which is great. And you showed me the amounts of what you have for each and every single one of them. And it's rightfully so. You're not looking for more credit cards. You're looking for an unsecured line of credit, which I will get into in a moment. Perhaps you're looking for a term loan and you're looking for that alternative solution. So this is a 0% interest program for 6 to 18 months through a credit line hybrid. This is where you must have at least a 680, if not a 700 plus and above FICO credit score. And that's all I will leave it at. There are more things that are required for you to have to meet it, but I'll leave more information of it down below in the description. But essentially, it's like bridge money. In that meantime, 0% interest, you know how some credit cards can be higher of an interest, but for 0% for 6 to 18 months, that can help you bridge money and use it the way you need to use it without worrying about paying the interest rates. So that is a great solution. I'll try to leave more information on what my #1 recommended way to do that is down below in the description. And I don't want to spend too much time on that program and what all the details entail, but that again will be down below in the description. All right, into my next segment. How do you get up to 5 million incredibly fast with or even without collateral? With low doc, no doc, high documentation. So I'm going to start off by saying that there are a few services where you can get up to 5 million specifically. One of those being a merchant cash advance or a merchant cash advance hybrid, or as known as a revenue-based loan that is based upon your cash flow. And some of these can require collateral, but for the most part, they're unsecured, so you don't have to put that up. Any kind of equity, equipment, accounts receivables, unpaid invoices, etc. But what you have to know is once you get into this territory, they will come with more of a medium to higher rate. Now, for many of you, you may be thinking, oh, well, no, I'm looking for an interest rate of about 2%, 4%. I want 10%. And that may be possible, 2% not as much anymore, because if we're looking at Wall Street Journal and the money rates for prime rates, we're looking at 3.5%. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get 3.5%. That just means that is the minimum, and that's what the prime is telling us right now in this current economy. And that is expected to go up about 75 cents to 1% up. And that could be a lot to some people, because you may be thinking, well, the EIDL loans are 3.75%. Why don't I get one that's the same or less? Well, those are government-backed loans. They don't paint a reality to you. It's the same thing like saying I went on food stamps, which I have been on it multiple times, and I never want to return back to that. Think upstairs that I haven't been able to go to that. So many of us are stuck upon this 30-year term monthly repayment with 3.75% fixed interest and even less nonprofit. And we're sitting on that. We're banking that, oh, we should rely on getting that money. It's the same thing if you're getting food stamps. And similarly, I've been there, done that. There's no shame in it. But I didn't want to pull up to the register and use my EBT card. No, I didn't want to do that, but I had to. And so it doesn't paint a clear picture. It's just survival money. What are you going to do to prepare for when you have to go into a medium to a higher interest / rate? What will you do then? That's the question on the top of your mind that you should be asking yourself. And you may already be there. You're like, piece of cake. I've done this before, or I understand this. I've heard it from other people, but they haven't really drilled it into you. You really don't get how it works until you take some time and understand it, yet people don't. And so when I speak to people on a daily basis, they want to give me a phone call. They want to get on a call with me and do this. I can't always give that. That's earned. So what I recommend each and every one of you do, if you have not yet, I have a business questionnaire form that I'll leave to. It should be in the description right now. I may put it in the comment section. If you haven't filled this out, it's a very quick way for me to analyze. It should be in the description right now. I may put it in the comment section. If you haven't, oops, I pressed play. I think I just had an echo. I pressed play on YouTube. I have it open on another tab. Okay, so there it is. So you can fill out this questionnaire, and very quickly, what I'll do is I'll analyze this. I'll take time and I evaluate on what you can qualify for. And I'll show you your best funding option and options, very thorough, personalized, and customized. And you're going to get everything you need, whether you qualify for this option or not. You'll probably be shown for it. So you know what's out there. So you're not asking questions, well, why didn't I get an SBA 7A loan? Why am I not qualifying for that? Well, here is the reason why. So I may be in depth, I may not be. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to understand, these are the better lenders, these are the better brokerages, this is the direction to go into, and so forth. So you have the merchant cash advances, these hybrid cash advances, you can get up to 5 million. A lot of it can be based off of a shorter term loan as well. Once you get into the 12 to 24 month term, that's considered the shorter term. Anything underneath 12 months, usually 3 to 11 months, you're looking at more of a merchant cash advance. And generally speaking, a lot of people in that range get about 6 to about 9 to 10 months. And that not necessarily is it a bad thing. So many of you guys have this expectation that I should, like the EIDL loan gave you 150,000, I should be getting 150,000 here, and this is the way it should work. But when a lot of people face the reality that, this isn't survival money anymore, this is either not the wild, wild west, you can use it for survival purposes, but you also have to understand, and this is going to go to my next point, the two questions that I'll get into, but I don't want to jump right into that, is understanding the proper use of these funds. So you also have the SBA 7A loan. You also have online bank term loans. You have like lines of credits, especially if we're getting into the secured route where you're offering up collateral. And then there are many more that we can get into in that range. Unsecured term loans, secured term loans, equipment-based, personal, sometimes / startup loans. And then that list will go on and on. But just know that these options are available. When I say up to $5 million, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the $5 million. You get lent about 10 to 15% of your annual gross sales, and in some cases up to 20%. But more people fall in the 10 to 12% range. So what does that say? If you're an individual looking for $200,000, but you're only doing $30,000 on average monthly revenue, and your lowest month is about $25,000, you're at most getting even less than $60,000, just below that. So if your goal is to get $200,000, you should go ahead and do this. What I recommend, and I've spoken to individuals today, you might have already received my email, but if you're looking for $200K in an unsecured line of credit, in a term loan, but your revenue doesn't support you getting that amount all in one shot, because it wouldn't. You'd have to be doing about $100,000 to $150,000 and above, if not $200,000 or that and more to get that $200K. So how do you get that with having just $30,000 on average monthly revenue? Well, for one, if we got you approved for a line of credit, let's say you're doing $30,000, and approvals for lines of credits are less, they happen less, and then two, you get less for it than you would with a lump sum. So a line of credit, perhaps you get $30,000, you're doing that amount, you get approved for, let's say, $40,000 to $50,000. Let's say $50,000. And in some cases, it's less depending on the line of credit program you're going to. So $50,000 with a line of credit. Now, that's not $200,000, but I always voice it to you guys. Do you really need the $200,000 all at once? No, I really don't. I'm going to need this amount to start with then, and then I'm going to have to go here. I need 75% of this is going to be used for growth and expansion. Well, what specifically will it be used for? Well, then another percentage of this will go into survival money. I need to have business expenses to take care of, debt to consolidate, payroll to make, these bills need to be paid, etc. Okay, that won't necessarily produce you an ROI. It'll help organize your business much better. It could perhaps help you later on with cash flow. But if we're looking at it over here in the 75% pie chart, okay, then it makes sense. You can budge a little bit. Unless you were in a situation where you had this big project and you said, I need the full $200,000. I can't come back and get more. Then that breaks a different scenario. But again, you still wouldn't qualify for that. So let's say you get $50,000 in the line of credit. Okay. Now what we can do is combine it with a term loan solution, either 4 to 24 months. It could be 2 to 10 years, etc. But once you start getting into that 2 to 10 year frame, it can be an unsecured line of secured term loan if you qualify in the right state. But then two, you also have to see what the interest rates are. Usually you get tacked on 1 to 3% per month. So if you had this thing for 2 years at a 2% interest rate, 24% and above, it still keeps your head above waters if your cash flow is fine, but you have to understand how these work. Or if you had a collateral to give up, boom, we can do that and work towards that amount, getting you the $200,000 if you just wanted to strictly focus on that. Or another great option, if you don't offer up any collateral, you want these unsecured loans and so forth, we can get you that line of credit if you get approved for $50,000. And then over here, a term loan, it does not necessarily have to, if you're looking for 2+ years, sure, there's a place for that if you qualify. But for the most part, those of you who are getting a line of credit, it can fall between 6 to 9 to 12 months unsecured. And then if it's an unsecured term loan and it's even part of an MCA, merchant cash advance, that's fine, as long as you're meeting those. So I spoke with people today, and then I sent emails also. In a specific example, an individual may qualify for 7 to 11 months because of the credit score. They will not get 12 to 24 month term loans because it doesn't work out that way for an unsecured. If it were secured, perhaps they'll be passing that. If you have substantial, high quality collateral to give up, we can work with that. Accounts receivables, unpaid invoices, yes. However, if you don't, and you don't have the credit score to back that up, and you're in the range of 7 to 11 months, perhaps that's what you're looking at. If we can get you the most of 11 months, would that be sufficient enough? That would then drop your payment. You have an excellent credit score. Your revenue is doing well. But to get you 12 to 24 months unsecured is just not realistic. In this economy, in what is showing, unless you're backing things up with collateral to give up that's sufficient enough to meet you getting over a year, over 2 years, etc. So you have to really just think about how these work and put yourself in my shoes from time to time. I do it all the time with you guys every day. Like last night, I thought about what could I do to make this easier before I went to bed. Literally the last 2 minutes before I shut my eyes, I literally thought about you guys, and I thought, going into tomorrow, how do I make this process easier? So what you're not seeing on the back end, you're thinking I'm just answering every email, but I'm not. I'm not coming and waking up and answering. There are days where I do. Don't get me wrong, like tomorrow's a catch-up day, so I will do a lot of that. But throughout the week, I'm not doing clerical tasks. I'm not doing administrative tasks. I'm over here building more material for each and every one of you, staying up to date. People don't have the type of knowledge that I do to help you guys in each part of the process. And again, if I haven't responded back to you, you understand why now. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to voice them for me. I'm going to continue to move forward here. So the 5 million, there are different services. That's what you should know. And it's not one size fits all. Collateral, non-collateral. How much can you qualify for? 10 to 20%, but usually 10 to 15, more in the 10 to 12% range. And what should you do if you don't get the amount you want all in one shot? We can look at combining a few different services to get you it if you get approved for more than one. And then also, you can always come back and get more. If it's 1 or 2 services, come back, take out more funds. You got approved for a line of credit of $50,000. The lump sum we approved you for $60,000. $110,000 right there in total, down by $90,000. What should you do? Take what you get, pay off 50% of it. More so it could be both. You can use like the line of credit would be sufficient enough. You don't actually need the full $200,000. You can keep withdrawing and adding back, but you can come back more and get the term loan. And this time you got approved for you got approved for $60,000. This time we're going to approve you an extra $5,000, $65,000. There you go. Boom, you're getting closer to your goal. Now you're off by a few 30,000. That's how this game is played. Everybody who returns and renews with me, they usually talk to me beforehand. They want to understand, if I did this, how much would I get now? Or what are my other situations? What can I do there? But if you're very close-minded, you give me no feedback, how do you expect me to help you? If all you're doing is opening up my emails and saying, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, when I'm ready, I'll be ready. I'm going to go explore other offers, which I'm going to get into in a moment, why that could be hurting you. And you'll want to stick tuned to that part. And you'll want to listen to about every word I'm about to tell you. But understand this, bottom line, I want to help your business succeed, but I want to help you as the individual, as the human, because that could be what's holding you back. I was in a position not too long ago trying to build my online businesses where I was very fearful of everything, fearful of putting content out there, fearful of building an email list, fearful of showing my face. I feared that one little word would backfire on me, that trying to communicate however I did it would backfire. But I had to learn how to get over these things. Now, I won't turn this video into how to build a business from scratch because I could, but that's not what I want to lean into. So let's continue to move forward in the time that we have. I'm going to try to close underneath an hour. I know those of you who are here are like, man, skip there and close it underneath an hour because I got things to do. No, but I'm going to try my best to get underneath an hour. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to voice them to me in the comment section. So little to no doc Sorry, I had a word there. Sometimes I write it quick. It's legible, but sometimes I have to write it like that. So low to no doc documentation, that would be more into so let's say no doc, 0% interest for 6 to 18 months. That's the credit line hybrid program where really like no documentation is required whatsoever. And if any, it's very low, but it's really nothing. So that would be the credit line hybrid program. Now, if we're talking about low documentation, we're talking about some of these up to 5 million programs. And even up to, well, no, I wouldn't say up to 500,000 or even up to 25,000. It kind of falls into that ballpark. There are different amounts for different services. But for up to 5 million, if we're talking about some of these like hybrid merchant cash advance, shorter term loan solutions, even some of the medium, you're looking at about 3 to 4 months of bank statements, 4 to 6 months, sometimes up to 12 months, depending on the seasonality of your business. And then about avoided check and a copy of your driver's license for a lot of the time. Sometimes if we're getting over the 100,000 or in a lot of cases over 150,000 in funding, then we're going to need to have your year-to-date financials, profit and loss statement, balance sheet, and your most recent tax return. Just one. And then from there, we can take it forward. It might take a few days more to process than getting the same day instant approval or within the next day or within 1 to 2 or 1 to 5 days, depending on your profile. So that would be the low doc. High doc, then we're getting into more of like the longer term. So that would fall into like an SBA range. So I have individuals right now getting processed for the SBA. Some of them trying to get approved for, other ones already passed that step. And it still takes a little bit of time. The underwriting process, the credit screening process, understanding what type of information you have to have on hand, the 12 months of bank statements, about 2 to 3 years of federal tax returns, business tax returns, 2 years of personal tax returns, a credit report history, and it just doesn't end there. There may be more verification that we need. An SBA-related application on top of another one, and then there's more within it. So it can be very scrutinizing, and by the time you get your funds, it could be past 45 days. You're looking at 1 to 3 plus months. In a lot of cases, it's 6 months. All right, now let's move into the 2 questions you must ask yourself before receiving an offer. So this first question segments into a subset, and then I'll have another set of questions. So this is seen as one. The first question I would be asking myself, now that I know how all of this works, will this produce for me an ROI, a return on my investment? If I took funding that was quote unquote costly, because that's on perspective. Somebody who gets 6 months of a term, who's doing 60,000 cash flow consistently wise, ends up getting a $600 a day payment and this amount per week. And they're in a growth and expansion mode where they're saying that this season they're going to produce an extra 20 to 30,000. So what they're paying back is far less to what they're getting. Hi, AK, how are you doing? So on that topic, you have to really understand that this individual who has 6 month terms, they got approved for that because of their credit. They're less than 600. They had the time in business. They were above 2 years. So this is a part of the reason why we gave them more, as well as their cash flow is consistent. So we gave them as much as we could, more to that 200% range. But some of the things we were seeing in the bank statements, we were thinking starting and the ending bank balances, how much are they depositing? Yeah, we got to push that down a little bit. So that's what ended up happening. But it didn't matter because in 6 months, what they're getting a return on their investment in the short term, what they were getting once they took the funding in about 2 to 3 months, how they were doubling and tripling and quadrupling in that. And I've spoken to them. I've spoken to many. Wouldn't matter. But if I need survival money, 6 months is not going to do it for me. This is not supposed to be inexpensive money. If you're looking for an alternative, and I'll jump into the share screen in a moment, I may do it in a second, but there's microloans. Actually, I may not because I just released a video on this. Watch the latest one on the SBA microloans. And that will tell you a little bit more. I'll give you a little bit more evidence on all of this information on the SBA microloans. But that's another program where you can get up to $50,000 through the SBA, and it's a 6% to about a 9% interest. So it's still within a really bargain range, and it can be very helpful. Hi, Rochelle. How are you doing? I think you sent me an email, have you? I believe I've seen it. I just, again, haven't been able to get back to everybody. Sometimes I have to look at them and not do it right there. I have to come back to it. But as far as me processing the EIDL loans, guys, I don't process. Like, I'm not like the loan officer who's working back there. Yeah. I'm not the loan officer who's working behind that, who's going to get it processed. So whatever is happening between you and the SBA is what you have to go ahead and explain to them. And they should have given you a reason to why you're going through the situation you are. Again, as a consultant, as the business loan broker / agent, what I recommend you do is speak with the SBA, but I will take another look at that and see what I can do. But for the most part, for those of you who are asking, can you help me process it? I'll do it to a certain degree, but once it's out of my hands, it's in theirs. So like I said earlier, there's a SBA Increase Reconsideration Fix video down below. It'll show you the reasons why you've been declined and what you may be able to do about that. So you may want to refer to that. So that first question is, will this produce for me an ROI? The 6-month example, or how about 1+ years, 2+ years? Is it producing for you an ROI in the immediate future, or will it be something that does it over a year, 2+ years? Is it more longer term? So people come to me and they say, I need 3 years, 4 years, and you're in expansion mode. When I ask them, well, when will this produce for you an ROI? I'm going to produce an ROI in 4 months of about $40,000 a month. Well, you can't qualify for that. You don't have collateral over here on this side. Your profile is not allowing you to do that. So how about this? We take what we can get you over here, you apply to that, come back and get more, or you decide what you want to do in that point. Understood. And so that's the way you need to look at this. And again, it's like a game of Monopoly. You got to pass go. You got to get in every little spot. In the jail, you don't want to end up, and in a way, that's the deferment. That's the whole defaults, past judgments, fraudulent activity, altered bank statements. You don't want to end up there. And it's not like Monopoly. They can just get you out. Once that happens, you're done. You can't get any more funding. So that's the reality of it. So understand, what would it produce for you in the immediate future, if anything? What would it produce for you in the long term? So I ask that question to a lot of people every single day. And they really don't have an understanding of what it'll do. They just think they need 30 years with $1,000 a month payment. It doesn't work that way. Come on. Who are we fooling? We're only fooling ourselves by not educating. Sitting here, watching this video, or if you're standing up, working. And I'm appreciative of each and every one of you for even tuning in, because those of you who don't, there's a reason why there's 30 emails sitting from the same person in my email inbox, because they don't take the time to really go through what I've been giving them. And it's harder on me now. You've just wasted a lot of my energy and a lot of my time. Not in a negative way. I'm saying this to be giving you guys some tough love, to really think about those emails and so forth. I'm sorry to hear that happened. I was going to ask a follow-up question, but I don't want to get into the details, and you don't have to explain that here. That's why there's an email for it. And I'll try to refer to it here. Fridays and Saturdays tend to be my catch-up days, where I also do a lot of questionnaires. I did emailing yesterday. I did about 15 to 20 emails last night. It was about 9 o'clock. I finished just before 10 o'clock. So again, I'll try to sit tonight and see if I can go through some of these emails. But again, I'm not doing all these clerical tasks every single second of the day, and rightfully so. And so sometimes people they're not serious. I waste time on profiles so much. that I learned not to do that anymore. So there's a proper, more efficient way to go around this. So that's the question. Will this produce for me an ROI? If yes, how much? 10, 20%, 30% return on your investment? And by when? That's what the most important question is, because if it's over 6 months, you got a 6-month term, you're looking at about 8 months from now, that'll produce to you an ROI. It might not be good money given to you. So you have to ask yourself, if this will produce to me an ROI in the immediate future and or in the long term, how much of a percentage, how much in actual money amount you're projecting, because projections are everything in this. We want to see you going up. We don't want to see anything going down. If you see going down, we can't give you as much. We're more hesitant. So how much and when? Here's the second route. This is a question that a lot of people ask themselves, and this is what leads to a lot of people being dodgy with me, because they may not like the answer I'm giving them, as truthful as it is, and it hurts. But the question we all ask ourselves is, have I explored all my options? I've been in your situation. I know the psychology of how all of this works. You're looking for business funding. You consulted with this person. You probably talked to another person. It's not about consulting with 30 different people. It's not even about going to find you see an advertisement on this company. I'm going to go check them out and go see what they can give me. And this is what I'm going to get. And this is what I'll stick to. You have to be careful about what you're doing, because you can trap yourself into a situation where then you're looking for a consolidated loan. And so now you're looking to talk to me back again, or if you haven't already, and I'm trying to come up with different scenarios for you. And I, a lot of the times, don't cut around the corner, and I'll be honest with you and say, yeah, you should have never have taken that. Well, I wish I would have I wish I would have had somebody like myself telling me this when I was building my businesses from 0 to 5K. But before 0 to 5K, 0 to like 2,500 to 3,000, like back and forth. That was hard. And then building it thereafter. So I didn't get it easy. So exploring all options, that's the other question you should ask yourself. Have you really taken the time not only to explore, but understand truthfully what you're getting? Numbers broken down, ballpark ranges, what are the actual terms I may be getting and looking at? What are the rates for me in my profile? What are some of the underwriting guidelines that will dictate that? What is my expected repayment? What is my actual precise payment? And at the end of the day, it's all about the benefit exceeding your repayment. If it doesn't, you're like this. You're like in a vault, like bouncing up electrons and everything. Just your repayment now is up here, and then your benefit, you're just fluctuating. It would never make sense for you to take the funding. So if your benefits exceeds the repayment, then it makes sense to move forward. If it's the opposing, I would never recommend it, unless you're in a situation where your business is cash flow positive on a consistent basis. You're not bouncing checks. You don't have non-sufficient funds. And this is why people ask me, like, they tell me, oh, well, I didn't get approved and I thought I was, because it's because you have bounced checks, non-sufficient funds, too many inquiries. You got to fix up your profile. You got to look more attractive to the lenders. So exploring all options can help, and that can also hurt you. And I've said it before, because you might fall to yourself in a trap that you may not be able to get out of. If you did get out of it, it may be too late by then. You may be trying to figure out and explore other options, but it's not working for you in your favor. So the next point, why you're not taking the funding and what to do instead. So it's a little bit similar to what I just said. Have you explored all options? Perhaps you haven't explored all of them, and that's why you're not taking the funding you're getting, because you think you should go shop around and find more offers and see this and that and figure out how this would work. And, well, this guy offered me 11 months. Well, I'm going to go see if I can get 15 months over here. What? Like, it's so much in denial, because if you spoke with me already and I shared with you the hard truths, I shared with you and I put it down in an email or I put it down on paper. I just calculated an individual's weekly repayment on a business line of credit the other day. I said if you're getting 1 to 3% interest per month, let's say you got the middle amount of 2%, what would that look like on a weekly basis? What would be going towards the principal and what would be going towards your interest? You're looking at about a $440 per week repayment as long as you took that amount out, and that's what you'll only be paying interest on. As opposed to a lump sum where then you're paying perhaps not even double, you're paying more in the 1,000 and above range. Not necessarily is that a bad thing. But everybody goes, I can't do $1,000 a week repayment. You know, the EIDL loans have me on $300 a week. I'd be appreciated if I have that all the time, but it's just not the reality. And so why you're not taking the funding, that's part of it because you haven't explored all options. And then 2, you think there's something better out there. There may be, depending on where you're going. You're also unsure about, that's the right one. You are also unsure about the interest rates, the total payback, the factor rate, the APR is what we get stuck upon. Oh, the APR is 50%, 60%. You just missed the whole picture. If that's the way you're coming into this, in this mentality, good luck. You best raise your revenue. You better raise your credit score because that's what's going to be hindering you. So that is what needs to happen. You need to get yourself in better shape mentally to think about, like, what is the actual psychology of how this funding game works? Oh, there are microloans. I'm going to go jump over there. Oh, there's another SBA loan here. Yeah, but you don't get approved for it. You're not showing significant profit. You're not showing us that you're in this position to have this kind of growth and expansion and these projections. You just need it primarily for survival purposes. The EIDL loan. But what people get caught up on is, well, I got to pay $1,000 to $500 a week, and I got to do this amount per month. But the interest rate is 14%. It's actually 30% on this one. They get stuck up on that. And what you should do is not think about it like that. Think about, okay, yeah, the repayment is one thing. Am I cash flow positive? Am I cash flow negative? Cash flow negative, you'd never justify doing it. You'd probably just quit right there and then without even me hearing a word from you. That's what happens a lot. A lot of people just list numbers. And when I try to get a hold of them and I say, hey, there's an offer on the table for you, I sent them a text, an email. 2 days go by, I guess I got to give them a call. This number is not available. Stop applying for loans. Stop putting yourself in that position. Especially you're hurting yourself when you have so many offers on the table and lenders see this. You have never even accepted or declined one, but you're going over there. Forget about getting approved or getting approved for that amount. You're going to get a reduction. So you're unsure about the interest rates, but you got to stop asking yourself, what are the rates and what are the terms? What are the terms? And I was stuck upon that mindset too, but business funding is different than anything else. It's not the same. Also, another question would be, what is the type of payment style? We get stuck on, we need a monthly repayment. I can't do weekly. I can't do daily. First of all, you have to understand, do you meet the qualifications for a monthly repayment? That's where a lot of people get stuck because, well, the EIDL loan says I got this amount per month. I mean, shouldn't I get at least 20, 30 years? No, it doesn't work that way. So you have to understand that your repayment, if it's not monthly, it could be daily, it can be weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. Appreciate that. And so you have to step back, even when you walk away from watching this video. And if you feel there's somebody who's missing out on this, please, everyone, if you can, share this with others who you feel will get value out of it. They can be a complete stranger. You just posted it on your Facebook. I don't know. You just happen to put it on, I don't know if you can, yeah, somewhere on Instagram or just a screenshot or something like that. But if you feel other people will get value from watching this video, because listen, I just heard a guy the other day talking about EIDL loans because it didn't even sound like he knew what he was talking about. I almost wanted to get into the screen and just pull him by the collar and say, hey, what are you saying? Because I'm very observant. I'll watch what other people are saying out there. People are out there just for clout. I'm not there for that. And those don't always paint a clear picture for you. They'll be like, yeah, this is over here. But they don't ever show you, and there's always people with questions at the end of the day that never get answered. So another one, you really don't need the money or much of it at all. So that's another concerning thing you'll have. You don't need it, or it's not as much as you thought. Because once you hear about, oh, well, it's a medium to higher rate. Well, if you have collateral to give up, we can look at getting you something underneath 10%, slightly over into the low teens. Because the prime rates these days are 3.5%, and that could be going up to about 4% plus. Well, if we're looking at that, 3.5% plus 2% for unpaid invoices, you're sitting at about 5.5% at a maximum. Okay, well, if it's equipment, let's say 3.5 plus 2 to 5%. You're still somewhere in the range underneath 10%. Any other collateral backed loan with any other type of asset, it could be underneath 10%. But when we're in this like, well, if you get approved by the banks, go ahead. I won't say another word. I'll just do this. But I won't be here. Well, if you got approved by the bank and they're showing you this and that, start there. I already spoke about you haven't explored enough, what other options are out there. And sometimes you don't have to go to multiple options. If you've spoken with me, you may have seen multiple ones from what I've shared with you, but just be careful about going away from that. Because once you do, you may be in the blind. You may not know. You may bring something up to me and say, hey, I checked this out. It may be good, but it may not be best. And there are ways for me to distinguish what it is. My next point here, and this is the bottom line. This is above everything else. This is the one that gets me, that gets people. And it gets me too, excuse me. Like the tea that I had is getting to me. I had a tea, ginseng tea from, it's like in a yellow bag. It's my favorite. And then I have had a cereal. So combining those two, not a good thing. This is, you're not well educated. If you guys like somebody who goes to you and goes, oh, well, they tap you on the shoulder and they go like this. Oh, say, oh, it's okay. You'll get it next time. There's a time and a place for that. But the problem is so many people want that. They want that, let me lean into your shoulder. Let me sit right there. And that's okay from time to time. We've all been there. We will continuously be doing that. But the problem is, and we continue to lean on that shoulder that's not even helping anymore. That shoulder is already sore enough. Or then you see it leaning like this. You're like, just get off. I want to be nice to you, but you're kind of seeing that you can't lean on my shoulder anymore. But the truth is, we're looking for somebody to baby us a lot of the time into getting a business loan, a cash advance, building business credit. We want somebody to give us a done-for-you system, which it does exist, but you also have to take into account and do it for yourself. You didn't become a business owner to have somebody do it all for you, did you? You didn't get into the field as an entrepreneur to just, hey, I'm going to have somebody do all the work for me. You didn't get there yet. Perhaps in time you started outsourcing. But you have to understand that if you're not well educated, and I've said this in every single video, of my lives, for the most part, you will continue to, like an avalanche, just hitting on the way down. So there's so much changing. Don't just watch the EIDL loan videos on there's this SBA loan and here's some little tips on this. They don't paint the clear picture for you. And it's just a lot of babying is what I see out there. I already spoke about focusing on the benefit exceeding your repayment. And then the other part would be the economic impact. Micro and macroeconomics, understanding the supply and demand, what's happening right now with inflation, how are we curbing that off, and how interest rates are impacting that. Stocks and bonds, I won't get into all that. I don't want to get into that topic. And so we're going to continue here to the last segment, and then I'll recap. So how to blow up your business in a 3 simple step process. And it is very straightforward. Number 1, observe. Simple as observe. That meaning you could be here observing what I'm doing, what I'm saying. 2, make a determination on what you've seen. For the example of you guys witnessing me here on video, communicating with you, if it's for the very first time, you're making an evaluation on who I am. You may not know me. A lot of you do know me on the personal end. I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about you know me on the personal side. And so you guys are like, oh, that's Michael. I know who he is. And I've talked to you guys in that manner. And you guys know who I am as an introvert and how I take my time with each and every individual to get to understand them and get to know what ticks, like what gets you ticking. Like what is it that turns those gears in your head to make you think the way that you think. So determine what you will do with what you've just observed. Take your surroundings externally as well as internally, how that's impacting you, and then make a determination of that. Don't just let your external circumstances dictate what you're thinking in here. Right? Let your heart guide you. And then number 3, act on it. That's the most important part. To get an outcome, you don't want to be in perceived emotion. Motion is just reading a book, showing up here live to watch, opening up my emails, seeing my other emails come to you. But if you are stuck in inaction, you won't get anywhere. If you stall, if you wait too long, you may have missed your opportunity. I'm an individual who, this needs to get done. What are my priorities for the day? Move this over to 12:30. I'll finish this by 10:30 a.m. Done. Give me from 9 to 10:30. I'm over with it. On to the next thing. But a lot of people are like, oh, well, I heard about these alternative loans. And so they spend 2 hours just dwelling over the EIDL loan isn't getting me my funding and I need help. The truth is not everybody will get approved. And so when you come to that realization, whether it is now or you have already, it's going to hit hard. So if you're in survival mode, yeah, there's the microloans that may be able to help. But again, not everybody gets approved. And then another thing, take less. Try to get a line of credit if you qualify. But a lot of people who are in that situation where they're in survival mode have less than a 600 FICO credit score, they can't justify taking the funding somewhere else. It just won't make sense. You'll want to do it via email, Rochelle. And so bring that to the table, those 3 simple steps. And I know it's not like, well, I thought you were going to tell me how to build my website. I talked about that before. I'm not going to go into, I'll quickly go into this. So when you're building a business, there are different frameworks on where to begin and where to end. But what I like to do at the very beginning is start with content. Start with understanding what I need to do, how do I need to create something to make sure it gets you in front of it, as well as it makes a lasting impression. And it's not just like I'm speaking just to speak. I never do. I hate those. I really, I don't want to use hate as a strong word, but I really don't like when people just talk to talk. I hate it. Yeah, well, I kind of do because as an introvert, it's just like people just try to say things, they try to move their hands in a way, and I'm like, I won't oversay what I need to say. I just don't want to speak for the sake of speaking. If I have to get my point across, you'll hear it. And from there we go. But just understand those three: observe, determine, and act. And there's so much more I could have gone into, like a lot of subsets, but I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, and I have written down here how much you can get approved for the EIDL loan. So it's 2019 gross revenue. I'll just go into it right now while I'm here. You guys may have already known this. Minus your cost of goods by 2, minus what you had received last year is what you will get in your amount. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to just recap a few things. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to voice them. But you guys have a better idea now of what it takes, in a sense, to get the EIDL loan. If you're missing out on the increase or any amount of the EIDL, excuse me, telling you the tea and the milk. Just the milk alone will do it. But you want to take the time to understand that if you're not getting funded, what should you do? Are you going to be stuck upon it? Like I have cousins, I have family members who called me last week. They're still stuck upon not getting an EIDL loan. I'm like, I already explained to them why. And there's still a lot more people who just don't want to move away from that. And they just continue to break down the door. And if they can't get through, they'll just continue and continue. And there's nothing wrong with taking that courage, that bravery to push, because you should. It's just for how long will you keep doing it? It's another question. So we spoke about 0% interest for 6 to 18 months. And does true 0% interest exist out there? Not unless you're doing credit line hybrid programs. And the prime rate today, 3.5%, that can be going up by 75 cents or 7.75 to about 1%. So you could be looking at the most 4.50. Excuse me. So what does that mean? Well, if you're starting at 4.5, the banks start around 2.5 or so. Usually they're taking about 4% these days. You're really not too far away. But 4.5% plus 2%, or is it 2 to 8% usually, outside of accounts receivables? That's a bargain. So there is no true 0% unless you're going into like the credit card building, the back route. And then we spoke about getting up to 5 million. There's literally other ways of getting up to 10 million. And I'm saying 5 million as in like a service. If you got 5 million at one point and then you come back, you could possibly get more. There are different services like the merchant cash advances, the hybrid cash advances, as well as many more like the SBA loans, equipment loans, personal loans that may be less, unsecured term loans, the list goes on and on. Little to no doc requirements, little doc, MCA loans, merchant cash advance hybrids, no docs, 0% interest for 6 to 18 months. So really what you should know about that is the faster you get funding, usually the less amount of documentation you need to provide. But that could also mean you get medium to higher rates. Yeah, but do you have collateral to give up? Are you in a position right now where the funding is something you really needed? People call them hard money loans, call them that if you want, but they're not bad. There's a wrong connotation, the context people put behind that. Now, loan sharking is once they get to a point where it's like, why are you receiving that amount? That shouldn't have been happening. But when people say hard money, now this is a hard money loan. Well, let's talk about what you could qualify for. No, I don't want that. I want 12 months. Yeah, do you have collateral to give up? No. Well, here's an alternative what you can look at. Boom, and then we move in from there. But you gotta move up. I get 5,000 now. Boom. Then I'm moving up, paying 50% of it. Add-on funds. Boom. Another 5,000. This time is 7,000. Boom. 12,000. Then I'm another 10. Then I'm getting 10,000. Whoa. 22,000. Boom. I really need all that. And you also have to understand that all of this comes down to your funding details. Not enough revenue, not a good enough credit score, time in business, bank statements reflect that. If it's a tax return, we're looking at it. Financials, balance sheet, etc. So you got to understand how this is played. Think about it like Monopoly. Hi, Doc, SBA funding, one of them. There are more. The two questions to ask yourself before receiving an offer or taking the offer: will this produce for me an ROI in the short and long term? Think about those examples I spoke about, and if you need to refer to any of this, please replay it back when it's ready. And this is the subset. If you've answered this question, if so, how much and when? Simple. So I speak to individuals every day and I'll ask them that question. What would it mean for you to get this funding? In other words, not only what would you apply it to, but would it produce to you an immediate ROI? If so, how much and by when? When that answer is top notch, there's no second thinking about it. You want to move on that and say, hey, yeah, makes sense. I didn't want actually 20,000. Let's start off with 15,000. Move our way up. Okay, it's fine with me. Let's do that. And then pay off 50% of it. Boom. Or do this in this amount of time. Come back. I'll help you get a renewal. I'll help you do more benefits, more bonuses to all this. Drop the rates, increase the terms, get you more funding, and so forth. It's a win-win. Why you're not taking the funding and what you need to do instead. You think there is better, which I didn't really get on too much, but you think and you're assuming and you're trying to stack. Like a lot of people, they do this. One of my very first clients, he received an offer from one of the best lenders. It was about $80K. And he ended up stalling the offer, didn't get back to me on what he was trying to do. Like literally, I was asking him for feedback, didn't give it to me. He comes back days later, tries to take the offer, but he had already accepted another one from another ISO program. So what he was trying to do was stack about, I don't know how much he received there. He was trying to stack what he received over there with this one. That is not acceptable. It does not work that way. Don't do that. Now, if it's an EIDL loan and we're trying to get you an advance or some type of business loan, they're not really correlated, so we don't really have that affecting what you have over there going on. But if you had already a business loan here or a cash advance there, we're coming into the second, third, fourth position, yeah, it'll cause a reduction, or you may not get anything at all, depending on how much you've received already and what positioning you are in. How much have you paid off of it? When did you just recently get it? So these are a lot of concerns that we have to ask. You're unsure about the interest rates, but it doesn't come down to interest rates. It comes down to the benefit. Benefit needs to exceed your repayment. Bottom line, no questions asked. Benefit, repayment. That's what it needs to be. And if it doesn't make sense, whenever you have the right funding details and you're ready to move with that, I'll be here to speak to you. But if you're continuously complaining, you're like, you're not telling me the truth. You're only telling me what I want to hear. No. HELL, no. You're also unsure about the terms, type of repayment structure. Is it monthly? Am I getting 8 months, 9 months? I'll share with you guys the reality of it. And then you really don't need the money or much of it at all. You haven't explored enough. And bottom line, you're just not well educated. That's no fault of your own. If it is your fault, at a point, listen to this, if you're continuously coming here expecting a different outcome, which it could be a positive thing because you learned something and you went to go and apply that. But if you're in a position where you continuously understand my content, you're hearing what I'm saying, it's like you're repeating the same thing over and over and not doing anything about it, then that then becomes a problem. And I'm trying to help you guys as much as possible. Like, I don't judge. I'm not mean. If you think this is me being mean, no, it isn't. It's just me raising my tonality. It's just me not being aggressive. It's me showing you guys that this is what really matters and this is what you guys should make changes on, if anything, and what you should do to move forward. Because if somebody spoke to you again like this, I'm hijo, it's okay. There's a time and a place for that. But when it's time to take action and you're not showing that, and in a lot of cases, what my biggest pet peeve is, and I shared this with my other brokers and agents who I train, I have a massive amount of them that I can train. They don't, one, may do things the way I do it, but then two, it's like not taking your time to be patient enough to do something. That's the difference. So again, focus on the benefit exceeding the repayment, the economic impact / benefit of you taking the money or not taking it. But also before any of that, before you get even started, understanding like what's the inflation? What is happening right now? What can I do to get better? What can I do to prepare myself? And then lastly, how to blow up your business in the 3 simple steps. Number 1, observe. 2, determine. And 3 is act. And then I quickly went into the 2019 gross revenue minus the cost of goods. You'd want to multiply that number by the 2, and then minus that by what you had received already in the previous year. I love math. That was one of my strong points. So that'll end the video. I'm going to just stick around for a minute or two if anybody has any questions, just for fun purposes. But math was one of my favorite subjects. I did well in every single one. I was academically sound. You can say that. Very versatile of a person because of going through adversity. You can't be as versatile if you don't go through, I don't believe, adversity. And I know a lot of us go through that at some stage, if we're not right now. And we continuously will. And with the background of mine, I've always been able to plug myself into different groups. That's who I was in high school. And I was a Division I soccer athlete. Academic-wise, I was well, and then went to school to play Division I soccer. So I always leaned on, not 100%, I'd say, on academically, but I always needed to be grounded to help me move forward. And I always had to find that solitude in that bubble to work in. So I always work better. I can work really well in a team, but I always work best as an individual because I know how to navigate. I don't need to depend, or I don't need the outside or another influence. I can work on this a lot on my own because it's self-discipline at the end of the day. Because I used to, for businesses, also manage their budgets. I used to manage the inventory. I used to manage their Excel spreadsheets and understand what's being spent here, who are their customers, primary ones, new ones, returning ones, and so forth. How much of this do we need to order? Is this in demand? What's the supply? What are the projections of this? No, we need to move back. Okay, so we'll do this. So I think that will be everything. This weekend, tomorrow, well, I'm going to have to be catching up on work. Oh, I have to go take care of my brother's dog. He's going out of town. I think he's going to be in Boise, Idaho for a graduation for his fiance's brother. So I've been tasked to take care of his corgi, who I've taken care of before. His name is Chip. You guys might see me doing that. You may not. But I'll be over there. It's just down the street. And so I'll be over there, and that should be a good way away from home. So let's see. What do you guys have going on this weekend? I plan to go to the Saturday market if I get the time. I need to go get some more hot sauce. I don't know if that's your guys' spot to go, but for me it is. I've tried going through the local groceries, the other places to go, and they don't always have the bottle that I'm looking for. Some lady told me it was there, but when I went, it wasn't. So it's time I go back to the Saturday market to get myself some fresh, organically made salsa. So I'm going to give it about another minute. I'm going to try to close here before 2. But you guys can join me on TikTok if you guys would like to. I'll just recap a little bit and then go into a few more tips. I'm just burping over here. Excuse me. It's already 2. What time is it over there? I'm gonna try to get out by 3:30 is usually the best because I need to go get a workout in. I'm gonna do a lower body workout, like some squatting. Not a lot of weight, just here at home. And then get ready for tomorrow, and then the weekend comes. That should be fun. Okay, so that'll conclude everything from me. I appreciate your guys' time, like always. I know it's not easy to show up to these, to give that kind of energy, to bring that kind of time. You have to be as efficient as a business owner, and I get that. And I do too. I'm tasked to do that every single day, but I rise to the occasion. And that's what I challenge each and every one of you do. When you leave this video, and whenever you watch any other one, take the time to think about and process what you've just seen. And 2, what can you do to improve your situation, not only in business, but in any other part of life? And that's what I look at every single day. Oh, I missed to do this. I got to improve on that. Oh, I actually missed out on that. Now I got to do this. So I try to stick to a routine, and that's what I recommend everybody else here do. And yeah, be the best version of yourself every day and continue to evolve and continue to put yourself in uncomfortable positions, because once you're comfortable, you don't grow. You just pile and pile, and then it's harder for you to move forward. Nice. Yeah, and happy Mother's Day too. And in our culture too, in the Hispanic culture, we celebrated like usually a day after. But and also, I think I said this in the email where you guys went through, but happy Cinco de Mayo. We might go eat. We might go to one of our Mexican spots. Can't tell you guys. No, but it's here in Washington. We might go to. We might go. We might not go. There's one where we go to, and they all know us. Like we're the customers. Like they know our family and everything, and they're really nice to us, and a great atmosphere. We're always welcomed, and they make us feel well and at home. And we always have a conversation when they're there. The owners, they're always cool. They bring their family. And if you've seen me in that restaurant, you probably know. You're like, we've seen him before and his family, and they seem to be people who come here a lot. Not as often, but we show up, and it's like it's good because they already know us. And a lot of it isn't built upon the food. The food has to, of course, taste good, but when you go into an atmosphere and the people know you, and it's just like it's more comfortable, that's what's amazing, and that's what continues to bring people in. And so that's what I recommend you guys continue to, if you haven't done or improve upon, is making people, your customers, feel more at home. And they're just not a number to you. Don't think of them as a number at all. That's where you're going to win. So appreciate you, Rochelle. And so, yeah, that'll conclude everything from myself. Everybody, happy Mother's Day. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Go out there, go enjoy a meal, or if it's at home with your family, maybe it's by yourself, go get yourself a drink. I won't be doing that on my own for sure, but spend some time with your loved ones this weekend and really make a difference. Stop thinking about business all the time and you got to make money. If you're just in it for money, you're really not causing any kind of immediate, like you may be, but if you're just thinking money, you got to ask yourself, am I bringing enough value in my industry that's non-monetary? And that's where you're going to start. That's where you start getting more ideas. That's where you start becoming more of the entrepreneur is always wanting to see how much money they're making. The operator is always wanting to clarify their system. So if you become the operator, you become the entrepreneur, you become the artist, the person who doesn't mind creating new things, then that's where you're going to win. All right. That's everything from me. Thank you all. Bye.